Hey guys, it's Jack and Austin back with another episode of Coffee and Commoners. Jack, what are we drinking today?
Today we are taking a detour from our last couple of episodes when we've been drinking coffee of different types. Today we are drinking a sweet and spicy tea. This is orange black tea with a healthy dose of cinnamon mixed in. It is a 3-minute steep time from Good Earth Teas. Again, you're not sponsored by these people. These are just things that we happen to have in our pantry.
Specifically my pantry this
Specifically your pantry
Yeah,
this
this
time.
was just some... We had enough caffeine for most of the day, so we were trying to... this probably has caffeine in it too, but I just wanted to break from the cream and sugar.
Oh yeah, I mean this is a black tea with cinnamon and sweet orange. It says that there's also hints of lemongrass, peppermint, anise seed, and ginger.
Yeah.
So it's quite a mix.
It is definitely a fall drink, which is good because this is our Halloween themed episode.
Yes, it is. Despite my best efforts, pumpkin spice was not quite in the pantry stocks for us.
We still have leftover pumpkin bread cake, whatever.
I made a lot, okay? Yeah. I have been trying to get rid of this for 2 weeks now.
And for our snack time later on in the episode, Jack is going to make me eat something that is my actual worst nightmare. What?
Oh, you already said it.
It's candy corn.
Candy corn, because, Halloween. Gotta have some Halloween candy.
I hate candy corn with
You're
a passion.
uncultured, but that's fine.
It's hard, it's like a hard stale marshmallow. Like, basically.
You see, well, actually, I'll save my thoughts when we get to snack time.
You know what?
Because I don't want to interrupt us. Because, ladies and gentlemen, as this is a special Halloween episode, we have quite a list.
Yeah, we decided to go over, because, it's Halloween, all the spooks and the monsters come out. We instead of the usual random topic we've been talking about for the past few episodes, we decided this is just going to be a slew of monsters. Classic monsters that you might see in your trick-or-treater costumes or on old classic black and white horror movies. Which, by the way, Universal black and white movies, with all the monsters and all that, some of the best movies out there. They're not necessarily horror, not in the today's standard.
Oh yeah.
But they are definitely classics, and I enjoy each and every single one of them.
I always think back to Christopher Lee and his vampire movies personally.
Yeah. Have you seen the original Nosferatu?
I have not, actually.
I watched like a couple minutes of it in like a class for something, and then we never revisited it.
Did you like it?
Oh yeah, definitely. There's also another good like old black and white kind of. There's a German film movement. If you don't know, I went to film school, so
he's the more educated of the two of us.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean I know better than everyone else. I'm not that kind of film junkie, but like there's this kind of German wave of filmmaking that was very like dark and edgy and gothic, it's like there was this one that was kind of in the vein of like Nosferatu creepy. This what is it called? I'm gonna have to look it up. I want to say it's Dr. Facilier is a Disney character. That's
yes, that is. Do you know which movie he's from?
That's Princess and the Frog.
Correctamundo,
yep.
Sir.
He is the Shadow Man.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I know my Disney.
Okay, I'm just asking.
Yeah, I know. We're good.
Gotta fill the void, my guy.
I know.
We're looking this up.
Okay. What is it?
Gotta keep it interesting for our listeners.
What is his name?
I mean, this is something that we could always go back and edit in later.
Yeah, I'll have to find it later. But it is something about like this doctor kind of a little bit of like a charlatan character that had like this haunted cabinet or something that he brought around, and it had like this guy in it that would tell like very haunting like fortunes or something, but it was like old black and white. not produced by Universal. This was its own like version of black and white horror back in the day, but it felt very similar to the creepiness of like the Nosferatu movies. That movie.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, there's the good old Wolfman. There's also obviously many renditions of Dracula. I will say my favorite rendition of Dracula is probably Gary Oldman's.
Oh
Dracula.
yes,
That one
Bram
has
Stoker's Dracula.
That's got Gary Oldman as Dracula.
Wonderful film. Sound
Winona
effects,
Ryder is in it as well.
as well as
Why am I forgetting his name? God damn it. British guy.
John Wick Needs Your Help.
No, he's not in that.
Yes, he is.
No, that's not. No, it's not.
Yeah, Keanu's in it.
Oh, Keanu Reeves. I thought you were talking about the dude that does the meme. The John Wick Needs Your Help meme.
Oh no, Keanu's in it, man.
Yeah, no. I remember now. Keanu.
Young
is in
Keanu
it. Young
with
Keanu.
a horrendous English accent.
Yeah, a little off-putting there.
It's not the worst, but it's not good.
Anthony Hopkins. That's who I was thinking about. He's in it too.
Ah, yes.
He's Van Helsing.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fun film.
I
think it's
Anthony Hopkins.
It's a little dramatic, but it's a fun film.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah. Well, I think we should, stray away from talking about monsters. Let's take a quick sip of our tea.
Yes. Let us go ahead, circle back to the tea. Again, this is an orange cinnamon tea.
Orange cinnamon.
You've just taken a sip, good sir. What do you think off your first sip?
It tastes like cinnamon and orange.
Very, very, very succinct.
It's got some citrus hints.
Well, that would be the orange.
Yeah. And it's got some spice to it.
Well, that would be the cinnamon.
Tea is very basic to me, okay? It's like...
you uncult. See, now we have stepped into the realm upon which I have domain. Tea is my choice of sustenance.
I would not drink this to wake up in the morning like I would with my regular Folgers.
Oh, I love this. This is a delicious morning drink. It's the kind of morning drink that I really like when it's overcast, slightly foggy, and very cold in the morning. Yeah. I prefer this and like tea to coffee, admittedly. Mm-hmm. I'm a big drinker of iced coffees, but a nice hot tea in the morning, especially on a cold day. Now, granted, we are in an area of the world where it is very infrequently cold and overcast, and in fact usually is quite hot and dry.
Yeah, Southern California sucks in that regard.
I mean, is it one season all year round? Yes, that season is brown, hot and dry.
There is no green here unless it's like well watered.
Yeah, well, it's for all those, wealthy assholes along the golf course. Because, that's where we spend all our water. That and growing almonds. Great use of water conservation. I could go on for a while about that topic. I will not, though. Yeah. Instead, I will take a sip of this tea, as this is one of my favorites. I quite enjoy this. I haven't had it actually in quite a long time.
Yeah. I think this was honestly the last 2 packets of this particular tea when I pulled it out of the cabinet.
Well, it is a joy to share a cup with you, good sir. Again, it's very smooth. This is quite hot. Smooth black tea, little pop of citrus, the nice undertone and aftertaste of cinnamon that does linger on the tongue.
Yep.
I do quite enjoy that. Very, very delicious. This is something that I, like I said, love to drink in the morning, love to have throughout the day. This also makes it actually a really nice nighttime tea. Then again, that may be just, my ADHD talking, but caffeine at night, this will help me go to sleep relatively quickly. It's very calming.
I prefer Folgers.
You and your Folgers, man. I mean, hey, if it does the trick, it does the trick. Do you, bro.
Again, not sponsored by Folgers or anything like this. It's just what I have in my pantry.
It's just what you got in the pantry.
What we got in the pantry. Is that the running gag now? It's just what we have in our pantry.
Just what you got in your pantry. Oh, what are other ones? I've already forgotten them.
I don't remember, man.
Couple episodes of them. We'll get to them eventually.
Yeah, whatever.
That's fine.
You know what we should talk about now, Jack?
What should we talk about?
Well, we should talk about monsters.
Oh yes, our monsters. Now, for those of you keen listeners from our previous episode, you may have heard in the middle of it that we sort of hinted at what we were talking about today, and what we reiterated earlier is that these are more run-of-the-mill, typical monsters you find in your scary, spooky movies, horror movies, and things like that.
Your classic horror movies.
Yes. Yes, indeed. I'm going to jump around a little bit because I gave you one order before we decided to start filming, but I've switched things around because I think it'll be better this way. We're going to build up to the big boys.
All right, so are we doing alphabetical or?
We pretty much, yeah.
Okay, cool.
We're going to go ahead and start.
I figured out the order, guys.
It's very simple. We're going to start in the G section with a ghost.
A ghost?
A good old ghost.
A spook.
A spooky ghosty.
Have you this is off topic. Spook is another word for ghost, but have you also seen that movie with I want to say it's Jeff Bridges. It might be the other Bridges brother. The Spook's Apprentice or something like that.
I have not.
And speaking of spook, we have a Fizbin here to...
Fizban the Fizban.
Fizbin is an orange cat, not a black cat, but if he was a black cat, he'd be a perfect witch's familiar.
Oh, yeah.
We have some witches in our friend group, but we're not going to name them right now.
Plenty of meows from little Fizban.
Yeah. Adding to the idea that somehow D&D is Satan worship, we have witch friends, and they love cats.
That they do.
We're not going to talk about that.
They all have cats, too.
Yeah, majority of our group of friends has cats. Either one or two.
I have a dog. I'm the odd man out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't your dad allergic to cats?
He is deathly allergic.
Yeah.
Somebody goes to go pet a cat and then come home. Usually we have to, scrub down.
My dad was allergic to cats. That's why we didn't have cats for as long as he was around. So.
Yeah.
But I might have actually inherited a cat allergy from him because I find myself sneezing a lot. It's probably mild.
You know what you won't find yourself sneezing around?
What?
A ghost.
Yeah, because it doesn't have dandruff.
Exactly. It's a ghost. It's spectral. It's ethereal.
Yeah. Tell me about the ghost, Jack.
All right. Well,
what is a ghost?
Well, in the D&D sense.
What does a ghost say?
What does the ghost say?
No, not like that. You're supposed to say...
Boo, 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 boo.
I'm terrified now.
Good. What am I supposed to say, Austin?
I don't know. You were supposed to say boo, but I didn't want you to go into a what does the fox say rendition.
Well, listen here, buddy. You should have been more specific.
All right. Tell me more about the ghost. Tell me about it.
Well, for those of you folks out there with your monster manuals on hand, if you turn to page 147, you will find the ghost. It is a medium undead creature of any alignment, which is a little bit different from our past couple of monsters that we've talked about, which have been somewhere on the evil spectrum. The ghost is a challenge rating 4, again, vague sort of idea of where to slot it in terms of strength against a party. But beyond that strength, that challenge rating of 4, a ghost has an armor class of 11, so a little low, has 45 hit points with 10 d8 hit die. It has a hover speed of 40 feet. So not exactly flying, but it can't walk. It's a hover speed. So, hoverboard users and hovercraft people, you're all in the same sort of group here. A little bit different from normal modes of transportation. But going further into this movement, it's a decent low level undead, I think. Mm-hmm. In terms of its stats, nothing really to write home about. It's got a strength of 7, so that's a -2 on the modifier. It's got a dexterity of 13, +1, constitution and intelligence of 10, so smack dab in the middle, a wisdom of 12, and its best stat is a charisma of 17 for a nice +3.
I feel like the one thing that you should change about ghosts, if you're making a ghost a very important monster,
mm-hmm.
the one thing you should be allowed to change is those mental fortitude stats, wisdom, intellect, and charisma.
Mm-hmm.
Just because if it's a ghost that has unfinished business, maybe it's the ghost of an evil mastermind, or maybe it's a ghost of a raging warrior or something like that. So those are going to change depending. But ultimately, I think maybe that strength, that dex, and that con should probably stay where they are, just because it's they ain't got no muscle mass.
Yeah,
they don't got an immune system.
They are spectral creatures
Yes.
of the night.
They don't. They don't got no legs.
You got no legs, Mr. Ghost, Lieutenant Ghost. I
Yeah,
don't know.
that's another important thing, is don't skip leg day. We talked about that with the Pit Fiend.
Yes,
But these ghosts, they don't have legs to use. I mean, they have legs.
they
They just don't use them.
they hover.
They hover.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose they could like pretend to walk, but they'd still be hovering. But
Yeah.
again, they're ghosts. Yeah.
Yeah. What else about the ghost, Jack?
Well, it does have a fair number of resistances here. I'll list them off for you guys. It is resistant to acid damage, fire damage, lightning damage, thunder damage, and bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage from non-magical attacks. So that's...
Holy shit, it's a damage tank.
Well, beyond that, it's also got some damage immunities. It is immune to cold, necrotic, and poison damage. So yeah, that's quite a fair bit. I mean, if you're using psychic or radiant, you're fine. But apart from that, this is a pretty. You need to use some very specific things.
You need to be. What's that level that monks get magic fists and then like they can punch ghosts and shit?
I haven't played a monk that high. I only got to level 3 on mine.
Yeah.
I don't remember. It's like 5 or 6. I want to say.
I think it's like a pretty.
You know what? I can look it up because
Yeah.
I have a player's.
Anyway, the only way to kill a ghost is to be a monk and punch them. Punch ghosts. Do that.
I mean, that is certainly one option.
Exercise those ghosts with your fists. Do that. Yeah.
Exercise them.
Exorcise.
Okay.
Not exercise.
I was gonna say, well, that's like one new way to go about,
Well, we already discussed. The
Working up
ghost
your
doesn't
fitness.
have muscle mass. It can't exercise.
I mean, that is true.
They don't got no legs.
You got no legs. It is 6th level for monks.
6th
with,
level.
with their key empowered strikes. Quite nice.
I guess ghosts have ki. Or they're like condensed ki because they're a soul.
Just depends on how you want to look at it.
Sure, yeah.
Everybody has their own interpretation.
All right, okay, so we've been over all that.
Resistances and immunities. It does have condition immunities as well, and it is quite a long list. They're quite immune to charmed, exhaustion, frightened, grappled, paralyzed, petrified, poisoned, prone, and restrained.
That was a lot of P's that you just went through there.
Yes, quite a lot. There's not too much you can do to these guys then.
Yeah. Sounds like they're pretty, dealing with a ghost is going to be frustrating.
Yeah. Especially for lower level party members that don't necessarily have, magical weapons, spells and stuff. Fine, you're good there, so long as you're matching the correct damage times. But ghosts and stuff are typically things you want to take a paladin or a cleric up against. Those are what they're really built for taking on.
You want to bring a priest.
Priest, yes, indeed.
Always bring a priest when dealing with ghosts and demons.
Oh, yes. Ghosts here are also capable of seeing in dim light, because they do have dark vision out to 60 feet. Their passive perception, though, is only 11. So you are very, very likely to sneak on by them unless you roll absolutely miserably.
Yeah.
And finally here, the ghost has access to any language that it knew in life. So depending on the background of wherever you're setting your ghost, you can speak the local language, common, whatever the local other languages may be, Elvish, Infernal, Abyssal, Dwarvish, who knows?
I feel like for a ghost to specifically speak Abyssal, it has to be the ghost of like some hellish creature or something like that. But
something terrifying.
Can you imagine that? Like you kill a demon and then it comes back as a ghost of that demon? Like that'd be terrifying.
Yeah.
This is some paranormal activity shit.
For that sort of a scenario, I feel like you need to do a healthy touch-up of the ghost stat block, but we can talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah, a little bit. What else do we got, Jack? What else got?
The ghost here does have ethereal sight, so it can see not only 60 feet out in dim light, but it can also see 60 feet into the ethereal plane while it is on the material plane.
It can see other ghosts.
Indeed. It also has incorporeal movement, so while it is hovering, the ghost can move through other creatures and objects as if they were difficult terrain. Ergo, it takes double the movement speed. It takes 1d10 force damage if it ends its turn inside an object, though. So while you can pass through things, if you try to stop there and stay there, you will get hurt. Or it will get hurt, rather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had a friend, her character in my game became a ghost
Oh,
for
yes.
a while. And that was another
ghosty.
thing that I was like, she can walk through stuff and possess stuff and all that, but she takes damage. She became a ghost. She got her body back.
Yeah.
That was a good thing.
That was
Yeah, that was
it was
a
quite
big,
a journey.
That was a big story note. But
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
But she was a ghost for a while.
Yeah.
She's still got some ghosty powers. It's like Danny Phantom or something.
Did you give her all the abilities that a ghost
No.
has?
There,
Or just a few.
I pulled a bunch of crap from the stat block, but it was
Because they got some interesting stuff in here.
Yes, they do. Tell me more about that interesting stuff.
Well, for its actions, it does have the Withering Touch attack. It is a +5 to hit, reach of 5 feet towards one target, deals 4d6 plus 3 necrotic damage. So fair amount there for a creature that's only a CR 4. Pretty decent.
Don't let the ghost touch you.
Don't let him touch you. Also has the etherealness trait. So when the ghost enters the ethereal plane from the material... Excuse me. The ghost enters the ethereal plane from the material plane or vice versa. It is visible on the material plane if it is in the border ethereal and vice versa, yet it can't affect or be affected by anything on the other plane. So you can see it, but you cannot touch it.
Mm-hmm.
Just out of reach. A specter on the wind.
That kind of reminds me. You've seen Into the Woods, right? That reminds me of this song because if you've seen the movie, Chris Pine is sings in it.
Oh, I've not seen the new one, no.
But Chris Pine has it's just this song, Agony. It's like agony, and that's as much as I'm gonna say. But the whole point is the girl they love is just out of reach or whatever. So it's just the ghost is just out of reach, so you're in agony.
Oh goodness.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of a callback to old ghost stories of just passing through things. Just putting it just flies through your hand.
You're just like, whoa.
Yeah.
Get a chill in your spine.
It's like it's right there, but it's not.
Yeah. Is there anything else we should know about the ghost?
Oh, yes. We got a couple more things here. It does have a horrifying visage. So each non-undead creature within 60 feet of the ghost that can see it must succeed on a DC 13 Wisdom saving throw or be frightened for 1 minute. A little low, but again, it's only a CR 4. If the save fails by 5 or more, the target also ages 1d4 times 10 years. That's where it makes up for it. It's easy to pass, but if you fail, there are some consequences. A frightened creature can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the frightened condition on a success. If a target saving throw is successful or the effect ends for it, the target is immune to this ghost's horrifying visage for the next 24 hours. The aging effect can be reversed with a greater restoration spell. Level 5 spell, correct? Mm-hmm. Yes. But only within 24 hours of it occurring. So again, low DC effect here, but some pretty big consequences if you fail and you're unable to cleanse them off quickly.
Yeah.
Which I like for this low-level creature. Last thing on here, its big ability is Possession. Get a recharge on a 6. You want to talk about what that means real quick?
Yeah, so anytime a creature has something like that in their stat block, you just, with a recharge ability, and this is something that's also the bane of a DM's existence, is remembering when this recharge thing happens. It's just every time a turn comes up, and they've used that ability in a prior turn that has a recharge, you should roll it, the specified die. Usually it's a D6. And then on a certain number, whatever it says in the stat block, it's going to get that ability back. Otherwise, it's one-time use. So some of them have higher thresholds. I think some are 50% chance of getting it back. It's like a 4 through 6 is you can roll it and get back its ability.
I think a lot of dragons have a recharge on 5 or 6
I think
as well.
it's a 5 or 6 for their breath weapon attack. But for the ghost here, getting that possession back on a 6 is pretty solid.
Yeah.
I mean, because I think it's I don't remember the exact wording, but it's basically they just possess somebody.
Yeah.
So they can force them to do something that maybe they don't want to do. So
Yeah, the way, I mean, talking really briefly about recharge abilities, I find that, if it's a recharge on 6, so if you go 6 rounds and you have not rolled a 6 again, I feel like you should just get it back.
Sure.
On a recharge 6. If it's a recharge 5 through 6, if you don't get a 5 or a 6 within 3 rounds, I feel like on the 3rd round, you should get it back because you have like that 1/3 chance to get it.
Give it like a recharge rate rather than just like a random rate. I don't know.
That way you get to use the cool tools and you're not just, sitting there hoping.
Yeah. And that way you're not doing the opposite thing, because like, what if the ghost gets to possess something on every round? Oh no.
Yeah, that would be terrifying.
That's a fine alternative rule. That's just something that we do.
Yeah.
But, you can feel free to use that in your own game. Tell us how it works. If you like it. I don't know.
But in terms of what the possession actually does, it allows one humanoid that the ghost can see within 5 feet of it to make a DC 13 charisma saving throw or be possessed by the ghost. The ghost then disappears, and the target is incapacitated and loses control of its body. So if you're using this on a player and they fail, you get to pilot them for a little bit.
Which is terrible when it's the spellcaster with the big boy spells.
Oh,
Or
yes.
it's the melee tank person with the powerful weapon.
Do you want to know why I love this possession so much, though?
Why?
Because while the ghost is in charge, the person is not deprived of awareness, so they know exactly what's going on. So they get to be awake for whatever that ghost decides to do.
They just go tunnel vision, and then it's like, oh no, what do I do?
The ghost can't be targeted by any attack, spell, or other effect except ones that turn undead, and it retains its alignment, intelligence, wisdom, charisma, and immunity to being charmed and frightened. It otherwise uses the possessed target statistics, but doesn't gain access to the target's knowledge, class features, or proficiencies.
So you can't, like, if the ghost possessed a paladin, it couldn't, like, divine smite. It's the paladin's homies.
Yeah.
I guess that's a good, like... However, if your paladin has a magic weapon, like a holy avenger...
Ooh.
Burn in holy fire.
Oh, yes. The possession lasts until the body drops to 0 hit points, the ghost ends it as a bonus action, or the ghost is turned or forced out by an effect like the Dispel Evil and Good spell. When the possession ends, the ghost reappears in an unoccupied space within 5 feet of the body. The target is immune to this ghost's possession for 24 hours after succeeding on the saving throw or after the possession ends.
Yes, like we said earlier, bring priest.
Oh, yes. Those are very
because they have turn undead.
Save it for when you need it. The big boy.
Well, actually, one of the paladin subclasses gets a turn undead feature, and then cleric just has it intrinsically.
Yep. Oh, clerics.
Imagine but monk, who is like the other kind of priest or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess if you think about it like that, they don't have a turn feature except for their fists.
Yeah, you just get to punch it.
Punch the ghost out. Punch the ghost out of your homie. Do that.
Yeah.
Do that like move that like in Doctor Strange where like the
you punch someone out of the physical body.
Character like punches like Strange out of his body.
Mm-hmm.
What is her name again? It's like the Sorceress Supreme or something like that.
The ancient one.
The ancient one. I don't remember.
Yeah, Sorceress Supreme works too.
Yeah, because I think that's her title. But then it's like, but just do that whole thing. She punches him out of his body. Like, do that as a monk. Punch the ghost out of your friend.
It's a pretty cool visual. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Just
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I like the ghost. I don't think I would really change anything about it.
Yeah.
Other than, like, the whole, like, if you want the ghost to be important, give it a personality and change up maybe its intellect stats or its mental stats.
Mm-hmm.
Just to, like, fit more with whatever the ghost's personality that you want to go for.
I mean, it does specify inside inside the monster manual, as some suggestions for how to tie them in is through having the ghost have some sort of unfinished business that is keeping them tethered here and unable to pass on. So, like you were saying, add that personality. You can easily tie whatever their, personality stat, intellect, wisdom, or charisma into whatever sort of unfinished business is keeping them here, you know? It
Maybe
could
they're
be-
like a powerful lord. They're an academic. They're a warrior who died in battle or something like
a
that.
scorned lover, a betrayed thief. There's
Yeah.
a number of things you could do.
And you know what? Just because it's a Halloween episode, there is more than just the regular monsters in the Monster Manual. There's also good old Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft,
Oh, yes.
which was kind of an add-on that they created. I don't remember what year this came out. Was it last year? 21? I don't remember.
Time has blended for me,
Yeah.
okay? Ever since the Panini, everything is just one long
But
string.
I feel like we should talk about some alternatives or similar flavors to the Ghost from the D&D sanctioned Spooky Book.
The spooky
Yeah,
book.
the Spooky Book. That's what we're going to call Van Richten's Guide.
Okay.
Some obvious ones. There's obvious alternatives to ghosts in the Monster Manual itself. Like, this is the catch-all ghost, but like we also have like the Wraith or like the Spectre.
Oh, yes,
in the
those
book in that
are
book as well.
scary.
But in Van Richten's, I've used this monster actually. As opposed to a ghost, I use Gallows Speaker, which is kind of this like grim, rapery looking creature, floats around, kind of stays around graves or something like that. If you want to check that out, you should get yourself a copy of Van Richten's Guide. Not sponsored by D&D here either. We're just like talking about it.
And what page is that found on a Van Richten's Guide?
Well,
if you have it
unfortunately, I'm
available?
viewing it on D&D Beyond, so I can't tell you.
I see, I see.
So, but I could probably tell you if I had the book in front of me, which I do not.
Oh, that's all right.
Similar flavor to the Ghost. It's got some like more foreboding tones to it. But yeah, that's one alternative. If you wanted to check out good old Van Richten, El Spooky Book. Yeah, I've used Ghosts and Gallows Speakers. I've enjoyed them. I turned a friend into a ghost. That was fun in my own campaign.
Very memorable, I will say.
But yeah.
Not every day you have a ghost on your side.
Yeah,
of
no.
course, ghosts as written are of any alignment, so it's whatever the DM wishes to put them as, either as allies, could be a quest giver. Help save me from my eternal torment of being stuck here in this mortal plane.
Yeah, it could be,
That sort of
like
thing.
a creepy, like... It could be a really creepy, like, Paranormal Activity ghost, or it could be, like, Casper. The friendly
Yes, Casper the Friendly Ghost.
Casper the Friendly Ghost. If you think about that, that's a dark thing, because Casper's a kid. He's dead.
Yeah.
Come on. Moving on from the ghost, what other monster we got in there, Jack, on the list?
Well,
today?
up next, in terms of what we have for our listeners, we have none other than the Hag. Now, in the Monster Manual, on page 176 to 179, there are 3 different flavors of Hag. I believe we want to discuss one of them on this episode.
Yeah, well, there's the Green Hag, the Sea Hag, and the Night Hag, right?
Yes.
Which
sir.
one do you think is more Halloween-y? The classic Green Hag or the Night Hag?
That is a good question. Green Hag always makes me think of Wicked Witch of the West.
Yeah.
Night Hag makes me think of the hag out in the middle of the night.
The hag that eats children
Yeah.
or something like that.
So
By
perhaps
the
a
way,
night hag.
your friendly local witch probably doesn't eat children and does not conform to these stereotypes of hags and all that. They're just kindly people that are very knowledgeable. We have a couple witches. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on that. Fizbin is eating one of my Halloween decorations right now, but it's fine. Like I said, he'd make a great cat witch's familiar if he was a dude. Oh, if you listeners could see him now. But anyway, we have plenty of witchy friends, and they like hags. We have a friend that's playing a hexblood,
Oh, yes.
a hag of sorts.
So like a adoptive daughter of a hag, right? Is that what the...
Sort of,
Yeah, something
like
along
that.
those lines.
We have a couple of hag options available to us.
I think today we're going to discuss the Night Hag.
Let's talk about the Night Hag, yes.
We may come back to the Green Hag and the Sea Hag in a later episode. I think the two of them should be fine to cover in their own territory. But for today, But for today's episode, this Halloween episode, we're going to cover the Night Hag.
Yeah. So what does the Night Hag give us, Jack?
So the Night Hag is a challenge rating 5 neutral evil fiend.
It's a fiend, not a fae?
It's a fiend. The Sea Hag is a fae. The Green Hag is a fae. But a Night Hag is a fiend.
Boy, we're really doing no favors for the D&D community. We're just sparking more satanic panic over and over. Come on, let's go.
Good.
Devils, demons, hags, witches.
Suffer.
Ha.
Now, the Night Hags, according to the Monster Manual on page 178, are supposed to be sly and subversive, wanting to see the virtuous turn to villainy, love turned into obsession, and kindness turned to hate. It's quite a iconic type of character, I think, that you might come across in your campaign. Says here, while once they were creatures of the Feywild, their foulness saw them exiled to Hades long ago, where they degenerated into fiends. So while they may at one point have been Fey, they have spiraled down into fiendsdom. I'm making up that word if it doesn't exist already.
I spiral down into fienddom regularly.
What do you get up to that would count as fiendish behavior? Come on, share with the class. Don't be shy.
I don't know. I actually kind of live a boring life. That was more of just a joke about. I don't know.
I'm disappointed.
I'm not into debauchery. I just thought I would make a fun joke. I've been outed as a fraud.
The Night Hag is a neutral evil fiend. Has an armor class of 17, 112 hit points with 15 d8 hit die, plus 45 of course, and a speed of 30. So, pretty run-of-the-mill speed there. In terms of ability scores, fairly decent spread all around. Strength of 18, Dexterity 15, Constitution 16.
Baba Yaga don't skip gym.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she's got that good speed and she's got that good strength.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
An Intelligence of 16, a Wisdom of 14, and then a Charisma of 16. So 3 16 scores. Not a score below 14. That's pretty solid.
Yeah, no negatives. I would have imagined, like, maybe at least one of those would be, like, strength. I don't usually think of a hag as being particularly strong. I thought of them more as, like, casters and magic users, obviously, but...
Well, this is a fiendish hag. It does have some spellcasting that we'll get to in a little bit.
She's getting some power from Beelzebub.
One of them.
Her Beelzehubba.
Oh, my goodness. But in addition to those ability scores, there are some bonuses to skills here, which you don't often see in creatures with the stat blocks here in the Monster Manual. But the Night Hag has a +7 to Deception and a +6 to Insight, Perception, and Stealth.
She can tell if you're lying, and she can also persuade you to eat a mysterious candy apple.
Or just lie about it, because she's really good at, lying.
She can, come up to you with an apple and be like, have a bite, and then you faint, and then 7 short men save you.
I don't know if the Evil Queen counts as a hag, though.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the Evil Queen doesn't count as that, but we're not talking about the Evil Queen, we're talking about a hag.
Indeed.
Yeah. So...
beyond just her skills, she does have some damage resistances, which I will inform you all about now.
Okay.
She has resistance to cold and fire damage.
Ooh.
And then, harkening back to what we covered some episodes ago, she has resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage from non-magical attacks not made with silvered weapons. Interesting.
Again, going with the whole, how we discussed with the Pit Fiend last episode. Silver. Silver is got some weird intrinsic anti-evil property.
Fiends, man.
Yeah, fiends.
They got some weird stuff.
They got some weird shit.
In addition to those resistances, she is also immune to being charmed, has 120 feet of dark vision, and a passive perception of 16, which is decent.
Nothing slips by Baba Yaga.
Well, I mean, this isn't the Baba Yaga stat block.
I know it's not the Baba Yaga stat block. I can't think of any other famous witch off the top of my head.
Okay, fair. Now, she is versed in a few different types of languages here. She is fluent in Abyssal, common, of course, Infernal, and Primordial, which I think is an interesting choice. You don't often see that with humanoid.
Well, I guess if you're thinking about like a hag being like a practitioner of ancient and forbidden magics, they'd need to be versed in multiple types of language in order to understand it.
That's fair. That's
practice
fair.
it.
I'm a little surprised that there's no like Sylvan or anything like that here. It's all. I mean, I know she's a fiendish type creature, but
Yeah, but didn't they also say that like they've been banished from the Fae?
True.
Wasn't that what they said?
Mhm.
So I don't know. It seems like they should still know Sylvan.
yeah, interesting choice.
I'd add
I mean-
Sylvan to the list. Honestly,
I mean, the Green Hag does have Sylvan in their language list, but I feel like I just feel like that should be something intrinsic in all types of hags. Myself,
probably. There's some other hags in some other books that I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think Sylvan is common between most of them.
Okay.
What else do we got besides languages?
Well, beyond that, we start to get into some interesting features and abilities. So the Night Hag has innate spell casting with a ability modifier used there as Charisma, and a spell save DC of 14 with a +6 to spell attacks. She can innately cast the following spells requiring no components: Detect Magic and Magic Missile at will. So many times, just detect
Magic Missile,
and
aka Magic Gun.
the player killer, as I like to call it. You down a player, magic missile them, and they are out.
If you spread that all across the internet, there's gonna be a slew of dead players.
Kill your party.
No, don't do that.
Instead of kill your darling, kill your party.
Yeah, I mean,
Only if they deserve it.
yeah, exactly. You don't try to kill them. Just try and make it difficult for them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's life without a little bit of danger?
exactly.
Well,
You know what
in-
else is dangerous? The Night Hag. Tell us
Indeed.
one.
In addition to those two at-will spells, Detect Magic and Magic Missile, the Night Hag can also cast Plane Shift on herself 2 times a day, Ray of Enfeeblement, and Sleep twice a day each. So 3 spells twice a day each. A little bit of variety there. But not a whole lot of other spells on her own there, which is quite interesting.
I think you could probably give her more spells if you really wanted to.
Well, the thing is, with hags, they all have the ability to form covens.
Okay.
With covens, they gain, so a coven consists of 3 hags, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of devised that way so that any arguments between 2 hags can be settled by the third. If there are more than 3 hags that ever come together, often this leads to a bit of a scuffle until it's whittled down
I feel
to 3.
like there's a
once again.
common. It's like the Sanderson sisters almost from Hocus Pocus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of
They
what
got their own coven or whatever.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Sanderson sisters are the ultimate aesthetic of witches.
Yes.
I just don't think witches should eat children. Witches probably don't eat children. If you know a witch, just don't give into the stereotypes of witches eat children. don't believe those.
Break the mold.
Break the mold.
Break the mold.
Learn more about your local friendly witch.
Mm-hmm.
Because ultimately they're just a person.
There you go.
Witches are people too.
Oh my goodness.
Um,
Circling back to the benefits of having a hag coven, they get the shared spell casting trait here, which allows all 3 members of a hag coven within 30 feet of one another to cast spells from the wizard spell list, but they share the spell slots amongst themselves. So there's a number of spell slots here. I'm just going to go through and list a couple of the spells.
Okay.
There's more that you can find on this if you check the monster manual on page 176. We'll go into a little bit more detail. But you've got spells in here like Identify, Ray of Sickness, Hold Person, Bestow Curse, very thematic, I feel. Polymorph.
can they hex?
There is no Hex, but there is Scrying and Eyebite. Both kind of
Eyebite
interesting.
is a fun spell. I could never get it to work, but I had it in one of my spells.
It's a very particular spell.
Yeah, I never got it to work for some reason.
And so this shared spell casting has them using spell DC of 12 plus their intelligence, and their attack bonus being 4 plus intelligence. So it does boost them up quite a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So it gives them a little bit more variety, while there is there's a coven of 3. And then it also grants them the ability to craft a hag eye, which is something that...
This is very feeling like the Fates or whatever, the Grey Sister.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a difference between like the Fates and like the Grey Witches from Greek mythology, because there's like the Fates are obviously like the 3 sisters that weave people's destiny or whatever, and they cut the thread of life basically
Mm-hmm.
to send them off. But then like there's also like the 3 witches that I can't remember which hero it was, but somebody goes to visit them before like going to slay a monster, but they all share an eye between them or something like that.
I mean, for those fans of you that have seen Disney's Hercules, they do pop up there.
Yeah,
With
but I think
the
that's like a merger of the 2 different myths.
That could very well be the
I don't
case.
know. But a hag eye, what does a hag eye give us?
A hag eye is usually entrusted to a minion for safekeeping and transport. A hag in the coven can take an action to see what the hag eye sees, if the eye is on the same plane of existence as the hags. The hag eye has an AC of 10, 1 hit point, dark vision for 60 feet. If it is destroyed, each coven member takes 3d10 psychic damage and is blinded for 24 hours. Which I think is an interesting mechanic.
Okay.
There can only be one hag eye at a time, and creating a new one requires a ritual that all 3 members have to perform over the course of an hour. Basically, it just lets them see things off in the distance.
Okay.
Doesn't provide too much other bonus, but
like
I mean, still, anywhere they are that the eye is, look around and see it. It's pretty cool.
I could imagine like, because maybe it doesn't have to be a literal eye. Maybe it could be like a crystal orb or whatever.
I mean, there's
like
ways
that.
to flavor it. It does specifically
But, like-
say in here, rules as written. It's a real eye coated in varnish and then fitted into some form of a wearable item. But I mean, you can homebrew it to be whatever the hell
Like
you want.
I
It's
could
your
imagine
choice.
like maybe like it being a random treasure item that the party picks up, and then like
That would be a
the
fun way.
hags always have like tabs
Mm-hmm.
on the party that way.
I love
A good
a
way
little
to
nugget like that.
yeah, a good way to subvert your own party. I don't know.
I'm gonna have to use this for my next campaign now.
Oh shit, dude.
Thank you for giving me some ideas.
All right,
I
cool.
gotta jot that down.
All right, now
Um,
I'm gonna be wary of every magic item we pick up.
Good.
Okay, cool.
So, if you have a coven of hags, that's some of the bonuses you get. Back to the night hags specifically, they are also magic resistant, so they have advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects.
Naturally.
Pretty standard, I feel like, for most spell casters of this type. Beyond those features, you do get some certain abilities and some actions with the night hag. In the hag form, you get claws, which are a 5-foot reach plus 7 to hit attack that deals 2d8 plus 4 slashing damage.
2D. Okay.
Yeah,
Pretty solid.
Pretty standard. The hag can also change shape, so it can polymorph into a small or medium female humanoid or back into her true form. Statistics are the same no matter what form she's in. Any equipment she's wearing or carrying isn't transformed, and then she reverts to her true form if she dies.
Nice. All right.
Yeah. Also, the hag has access to the etherealness ability. She can magically enter the ethereal plane from the material plane or vice versa. And in order to do so, the hag must have a heartstone in her possession.
Okay. I don't know what that is.
A heartstone. Let me see here. See if it
Is it Heartstone or Hearthstone?
I believe it says Heartstone. Yes, Heartstone.
I guess that's like a port key, something. I don't know, something that lets them be linked
I
to
do
a spot.
not know what this means off the top of my head. I'm searching back.
We'll revisit this later.
Sure. We'll go ahead and see if we can't
Alright.
find anything further on this. I imagine it's something that they would have to craft similar to the Haggai, but this is a more personalized, individual item or token that they carry with them. That's what makes sense to me, specifically since the.
Well, we'll revisit this. Let's talk about
I've lost
opinions. Let's talk about opinions on this. Or is that the end of the stat block?
We got one more, which
Okay.
is Nightmare Haunting. You get this once per day. While on the ethereal plane, the hag magically touches a sleeping humanoid on the material plane. A protection from evil and good spell cast on the target prevents this, as does Magic Circle. As long as the contact persists, the target has dreadful visions. If these visions last at least 1 hour, the target gains no benefit from its rest. Ooh. And its hit point maximum is reduced by 1d10. If this effect reduces the target's hit point maximum to 0, the target dies. And if the target was evil, its soul is trapped in the hag's soul bag. Yeah.
You don't want to be in her soul bag.
Yeah, that's not really a good thing. No. The soul bag, for those of you wondering, when an evil humanoid dies as a result of a night hag's nightmare haunting, the hag catches the soul in this black sack made of stitched flesh. So a little grotesque.
Ooh.
A soul bag can hold only one evil soul at a time, and only the night hag who crafted the bag can catch a soul with it. Crafting one takes 7 days and a humanoid sacrifice.
Okay.
Which is pretty interesting.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, pretty dark.
And then just to cover the last bit here, reduction of the target's hit point maximum lasts until removed by greater restoration or similar magic.
Okay.
Says here what a Heartstone is.
Okay.
It's a black gem that allows the night hag to become ethereal. The touch of a Heartstone cures any disease, and crafting one takes 30 days. So quite a lengthy process. Much longer than the Hag Eye. But that is the Night Hag stat block in its entirety, with a little bit extra for those of you that are interested in a Hag Coven, as that does provide some additional abilities. So what do you think?
I think it's cool. I think I homebrewed, like, not this hag, but I did a homebrew of, like, a combination of, like, 3 different hags for, like, one of the monsters in my game. Mm-hmm. That hag had, like, 6 arms or something like that. And it was,
yes.
It was creepy as fuck. I think I borrowed some stats from that hag, but I can't remember which ones. Hags are fun. Having a hag coven, haven't done that yet. I think I would have to have, like, a particular setting or adventure for that one. Mm-hmm. I'd probably use it. Also, this isn't necessarily a hag stat block from Van Richten's guide, but hags and witches are, they also have familiars sometimes. Yes, and one of the familiars they can have, that's in Van Richten's, is a Grimishka, which is a little tiny cat monstrosity that looks terrifying. I can't tell you what page it's on. Just look up Grimishka. It looks horrid. I'm going to show you.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like a demon cat thing, and it's tiny. There's
reminds me of those furless cats that...
The Sphinx cats?
Yeah.
It's not that bad. But
yeah, it's like a demonic version of that.
Yeah. There's also a stat block for a swarm of these things because they are tiny creatures. So.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
So, but yeah, if you want, run a night hag, give it a Grimishka familiar.
Yeah, I have not used a night hag before. I've used a sea hag once, and do you know when I used a sea hag?
That was like 3 years ago.
That was like first big. Like mission session.
Half of us like went down under a castle or something that was on the coast or something. Mm-hmm. It was like the cave system up into the castle.
Yes.
And there was a sea hag in there. Yeah, I remember this. I know what you're talking about.
Sea hag in a cave under a castle on the water. Beautiful, beautiful stat block. Different from a night hag. A night hag is a little bit more terrifying, I feel. I really like the stat block. If I was to use one of these, like a night hag specifically, I would definitely...
Also, just in general, hags don't have to be evil. This one feels like it is, just because it's serving it seems fiendish, so...
Yeah.
But, most hags, they don't have to be evil.
Yeah, this one specifically says neutral evil. I mean, of course, we've spoken a little bit about the alignment system and our thoughts on that. It's, in general, bullshit.
Yeah.
Plainly speaking, I mean, a little bit more nuanced, like, you can use it as a guide for, like, a general basis. A hag is not going to be super cut dry. It's not going to be like black and
Yeah.
white. I mean, the Sea Hag in that stat block specifies that it's a chaotic evil, which is, in my opinion, just a little bit darker. And so that's probably going to be a little bit more chaotic. But like you said, use your imagination. They don't all have to be, mass murdering maniacs and such.
They don't have to eat children.
Yeah, they don't have to. They can, but they don't have to. Maybe they like toes instead.
Don't put that out there.
Hag wants toes. Give it the toes.
God damn it. All right. Well, we've talked.
Inside joke for later.
We've talked enough about the hag. You know what else is a horrible concoction that I think is made by witches? Candy corn. You didn't respond, so I just said it. Candy corn. Candy corn is the work of the devil, and I hate it with a passion. However, I have 3 pieces of candy corn in my hand right now.
You big baby.
And I am going to eat it because that was part of this episode's promise that I was going to submit myself to this candy corn torture.
I've been snacking on them this whole time.
He's been grabbing them, and I haven't really. Oh God! Ugh.
Don't like it. What do you not like about candy corn? That's what I'm curious about.
It's stale. It tastes like chemicals and sugar.
You mean you don't like the taste of red number 5?
No, Jack. Jack, what's the next monster on our list?
Next monster is, we're moving up into the big boy categories, the werewolf. Now this does fall into the lycanthrope category. Lycanthrope, of course, is not just specific to werewolves.
Yeah, but we just care about werewolves.
Yes, in the lycanthrope category, there are werebears, wereboars, wererats, weretigers, but we are specifically focusing on the werewolf. This is a challenge rating 3 chaotic evil humanoid.
Okay.
While its subcategory is a shape-changing humanoid. It has, in its humanoid form, an AC of 11, or in its wolf or hybrid form, an AC of 12. It has 58 hit points, or 98 plus 18 hit die. And it has a speed of 30 feet, or in its wolf form, a speed of 40 feet. So you do have to juggle with the werewolf a bit in the different stats that it has. They're not too drastically different. It's not that big an ask, I think.
Yeah.
There is that change to be aware of.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking down at its ability scores, it's got a strength of 12, a dexterity of 13, a constitution of 14, an intelligence of 10, a wisdom of 11, and a charisma of 10. So, nothing too terribly low, nothing detrimental, but it's not going to give you a bunch of bonuses.
Nope. It's not stellar, but it's not weak.
Yeah. It's iconic is what it is.
Yeah.
It's classic.
Classic Wolfman.
It does have some skill bonuses, though. +4 to perception and a +3 to stealth.
It's got that heightened sense of smell and taste and
Yes,
hearing.
sir. It's also got damage immunity to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage from non-magical attacks not made with silvered weapons.
Remember, adventurers always carry silver weapons. You never know what you're going to deal with.
Silver is cheaper than magical, apparently.
I guess
which
so.
makes sense.
Yeah.
It does have a passive perception of 14, which makes sense because it has a +4 to its perception.
Yep.
So, not a big jump there. While in its humanoid form, it can speak common.
Okay.
And then, while in its wolf form, it cannot speak. Now, of course, common, depending on what kind of creature is the werewolf, I feel like that could change. If it's an elf, it could speak common and elfish, but that's kind of up to whoever's running it and the flavor that you're shooting for.
There's some people that are think that the werewolf should just be a human, basic human flavor. I think, make the werewolf whatever you want. So it gets into weirder territory when it's the werewolf is a dragonborn or something like that, something that's not necessarily mammalian.
Yeah.
So it's just does this make sense?
The stat block does specify that it's a shape changer human as a base, but I feel like anything that's human adjacent, so human, half elf, something along those lines, like a hobbit, not a hobbit, a halfling.
Dwarf gnome, halfling, stuff like that,
Something that's not, like a dragon or a tiefling.
Yeah,
But that's up to you.
Yeah, I don't.
Flavor however you want.
If it makes sense to you, run it that way.
Yeah.
If it doesn't make sense, then just stick with what you got.
Mm-hmm. Now, the werewolf does have some features here. Shape changer, of course, as it can use its action to polymorph into a wolf, humanoid hybrid, or into a wolf, or back into its true humanoid form. Its statistics, other than its AC, are the same in each form. Any equipment it is wearing or carrying is not transformed. So you get to keep that, typical werewolf growing out of your clothes like they like to do in every single
total
werewolf movie.
transformation,
Yes, sir. And then, of course, the werewolf will revert to its true form if it dies. So, slay it, back into a humanoid it goes.
The curse is broken, sort of thing. I don't know.
Yes, the curse is broken with your death.
Yeah.
It's a sucky way to end the curse.
Yeah. What else, Jack?
It also has keen hearing and smell, so it has advantage on wisdom or perception checks that rely on hearing or smell. Pretty self-explanatory. And then beyond that, for its actions, in humanoid or hybrid form only, it has multi-attack, so it makes 2 attacks. This does specify one with its bite and one with its claws or spear, but that's kind of up to you.
Yeah. I think we discussed this before, where it's like, if there's multi-attack, you pick and choose.
Yeah.
Don't just follow the template.
Do what you think is right. For its bite, it has a +4 to hit, a reach of 5 feet, and deals 1d8 plus 2 piercing damage. If the target is a humanoid, it must succeed on a DC 12 or be cursed with werewolf lycanthropy. Or lycanthropy, excuse me. Either way.
Either one works.
Pronounce it however you wish.
Words are made up.
Words are indeed made up. So it's a low DC, but if you fail, then you become a werewolf, which
Yeah.
as the legends go, it's pretty fitting. In addition to the bite, it has its claw attack, so that's a +4 to hit, reach of 5 feet, deals 2d4 plus 2 slashing. And then finally, while it's in its humanoid form, this gives it a spear attack. Of course, if you're DM, you can give it any kind of weapon you want. Mm-hmm. This gives it a spear. You could give it a quarterstaff. You could give it a bow and arrow, a sword, an axe, a hammer, whatever the hell you want.
I used werewolves, and I gave mine a lance. I gave it like a fucking big ass glaive.
You also made another one a monk, so it had its fists.
Yeah, it had its fist. It could punch ghosts.
It could punch ghosts.
A werewolf that can punch ghosts, guys.
I mean, that's pretty sick.
Yeah, no.
I'd take that.
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah,
I'd take that any day.
So that's the general stats of a werewolf.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you like it? Good, bad? Would you use it?
I think you know what I think you know what I've used werewolves. I enjoy werewolves. I think werewolves are cool. I think they've been ruined by modern media, and I think you know what corner of the internet I'm talking about, because anything anthropomorphic gets misconstrued as something else. And that's not to say that community is like intrinsically bad. It's just like it has such a stigma. Anthropomorphic characters have such a stigma around them, specifically werewolves. It's like people avoid them. So this is my opinion on that, but I think werewolves are cool. I think they provide some interesting themes about like, it's almost like a Hulk scenario. It's like controlling the anger or the beast within sort of thing. So it's kind of like that. So like having players with like lycanthropy, having players that are werewolves, which we have done, can be a little tricky sometimes. There's like guidelines for it in the monster manual. I know that, but like
Indeed,
I haven't like really used that. The two that I have kind of.
Would you like to hear what the monster manual says about that?
It doesn't say it. Yeah, go ahead.
If you're playing a player character as a lycanthrope, it says that the character gains a strength of 15 if his or her score isn't already higher, and a +1 bonus to AC while in wolf or hybrid form. And then attack and damage rolls for the natural weapons are based on strength. Mm-hmm. So that's the little blurb it gives here in the box on page 207 of the
I think that's a little too simplified, kind of shoehorns it in to like something else. The strength change kind of is like meh, because like what if you have like a barbarian character or something and their strength is already massive, then they don't benefit off of that or anything like that.
I mean, it does also give some additional
like
statistics for speed and damage immunities and such.
You know what the fix is for that though? For those rules is honestly the shifter race from Eberron. Because it already says in there like the flavor of it is supposed to be like either humanoids with lycanthropy or like descendants of lycanthropic parents or something like that. So it's like they already have some of that in their blood and is represented by their shifting ability. Again, that's like
it's an interesting take on it.
I mean, it's not like it's not like they can fully transform into a wolf or whatever.
Yeah.
That's like for dealing with characters. There's another monster stat block in Van Richten's guide for a werewolf. It's the Lugaru. And
I am not familiar with this one. Please explain.
I actually use this stat block as opposed to the regular werewolf. But this guy is beefier. If you think of like werewolves as like actual wolves, the Lugaru is like the pack leader. It's like the originator of the werewolf curse, like their particular strand.
The alpha.
Yeah, kind of the alpha or something like
Respect
that.
the alpha.
Yeah, we're not yet diving into that. We're not.
RTA.
No, I don't want to bring the.
Sorry, everybody. I won't say that again.
I don't want to bring the rage of the wolf community down on us like that because I don't know. But the Lugaru is kind of a beefier version of the regular werewolf, and another one of its cooler things is that it can shape change its bonus action as opposed to an action, so it's like it doesn't lose everything. Also, like it has weird rules about it has legendary actions, but it also has weird rules about how you're supposed to kill it. Because it has a regeneration, and once it hits 0, if a certain condition is not met, it just continues to regenerate, and it can only be killed under a certain condition.
Does that involve silvered weapons?
Yeah, it's basically you have to kill it with a silver weapon. But
a supernatural standard.
Yeah, and rather than a regular wolf, it turns into a dire wolf for its like full form.
Oh, I like that.
And so it's like, yeah. So that is another option. But
that's nice. That's nice. I think it's a fine stat block. I obviously think that, like you said, it could use with some beefing up. I think it's fun flavor.
Yeah. I think if you want to run like a pure werewolf villain, you run the Lugaru from
yeah, that's fair.
From Van Richten's. If you want just like an introduction to werewolves, you use the regular werewolf stat block, and you beef up the armor class or the hit points depending on how powerful your party is.
Yeah,
already.
yeah.
That's
nothing too crazy.
Yeah, nothing too crazy. I think werewolves are cool. Werewolves are fun.
They're cool. I have not used them. I don't know if I would.
I'll use them in every campaign I run.
I could definitely see, because I have considered using shifters for my second campaign that I'm planning on running here in however many months in the future. But I could definitely have werewolves be another option in its place. I'm so far out from that. I still need to do a lot of planning.
Just take your time with that planning.
Oh, sir. Yes, I'm going to be taking plenty of time. Right. But
let us know in the comments if you would use werewolves, if you would let your players become werewolves, or if you would, if you hate werewolves. If you hate werewolves, though, your comments getting deleted. No werewolf hate here.
We're kidding.
We're kidding. I'm not. Jack's kidding.
I will not delete your comment. I will restore it. You have my back.
No werewolf slander.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Don't do that. All right.
Easy goes it, my guy. Easy goes it.
Okay. So, Jack, I think we have one more. Is that it?
Oh, yes, we do. And this is the best for last. This has the beefiest of stat blocks that we've covered to date, my guy.
It's a big stat block.
It is a big stat block. We are covering none other than a vampire.
Strahd.
Well, not this episode. Perhaps in an episode dedicated to named villains and heroes.
I know. I just wanted to get all the. I wanted to get all the Strahd simps excited.
Dun dun dun. Yes, Sims.
Listen. Here's the thing. For those of you that think you can fix Strahd, you can't. He's a complicated person. Just stick to the script in Curse of Strahd. Don't try and be like, I can fix him. Don't do that.
I mean, you could try.
You could try. It's just not going to end well.
Well, to each their own.
I mean,
Maybe
sure.
they'll find a way.
If your DM is like gonna let that happen, it's like, you know what? You're right. You fix Strahd. More power to you. Do whatever you want. Vampires, Jack. Vampires. We're talking about vampires.
We're talking about vampires in general. Yes, sir. Now, I am going to do a little bit of build-up to this before we get to the main stat block, because vampires are, like I said, a little bit different from our usual style of monster that we cover here, as vampires do have some special abilities about them. First and foremost, vampires are a CR13 undead creature. Typically lawful evil. Of course, you can play them however you wish. Going off some of the big bullet points here on vampires. Once a vampire has come into its own, its emotional attachments from its former life wither as one's pure feelings become twisted by undeath. Everything gets sort of turned, kind of like what a hag wants to do, a vampire sort of becomes. It's sort of the twisting and the darkening of any sort of emotion into its like ultimate negative form.
I'm imagining hags just going like, well, shit, I didn't know it was that easy.
I mean, as the book says, love turns to hungry obsession, friendship becomes bitter jealousy. It reminds me of what we were just discussing with a hag.
It's also totally Dracula.
Yeah. I mean, that is...
Dracula, Strahd, whatever.
Those are the icons upon which all vampires are typically based.
Yeah.
Vampires, of course, are born from death. They are, their victims are typically, they typically become spawn, which are terrible creatures that just hunger for blood, like vampires do.
Okay.
If a vampire allows a spawn to draw blood from its own body, the spawn transforms into a true vampire, no longer under its direct control. Vampire spawn become free-willed creatures when their creator dies. So, anything under its thrall will keel over if the vampire kicks the bucket.
Right.
Oof. Of course, they are chained to the grave, so they are bound to their coffin, crypt, or gravesite, where it must rest by day, because, of course, they cannot go out during daylight. And then as a vampire, they require no air to breathe. They are undead, which is pretty cool. Vampires also have layer effects.
Layers. Regional
effects around wherever they choose.
This is Dracula's castle.
Yes.
This is filled with traps.
And they can be. The regional effects around a vampire's lair are as follows. There can be noticeable increases in the populations of bats, rats, and wolves. Plants within 500 feet of the lair wither, and their stems and branches become twisted and thorny. Reminds me of the old, Maleficent thorn forest that she conjures up.
Like, trying to keep, the prince out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shadows cast within 500 feet of the lair seem abnormally gaunt and sometimes move as though alive. And finally, a creeping fog clings to the ground within 500 feet of the vampire's lair. The fog occasionally takes eerie forms, such as grasping claws and writhing serpents. And if the vampire is destroyed, these effects end after 2d6 days. Nature heals.
The world is healing.
Yeah. So
it's like how in Castlevania they kill Dracula and everything kind of goes back to normal for a while.
Yeah. Good show.
Yeah.
Love that
Castlevania was fun.
Oh. Getting into the nitty-gritty of the vampire itself, though, it has an armor class of 16, 144 hit points with 17d8 hit die, plus 16.
Yes.
It has a speed of 30 feet.
Speedy.
Yeah. In terms of its ability scores, it's got a strength of 18, dexterity of 18, Constitution of 18, Charisma of 18, Intelligence of 17, and a Wisdom of 15. So that's pretty damn good.
I feel like the intelligence, it's like a insult to injury, because that's an odd number. That's 1 point away.
I know,
From being
Intelligence and
good.
Wisdom both, but what can you do?
But yeah, this is like, vampires being like, I am the pinnacle of human evolution.
Night.
I am physically perfect in almost every way.
I just can't go out in sunlight. I just can't.
I don't tan well.
Incredibly pale. Yeah. They do have some bonuses to saving throws, a +9 to Dex, a +7 to Wisdom, and a +9 to Charisma. They also have a +7 to their Perception skill, and a +9 to Stealth. They have some damage resistances to Necrotic, and then Bludgeoning, Piercing, and Slashing damage from non-magical attacks. Pretty standard. No mention of Silver, of course.
Yep.
In terms of their senses, they have Dark Vision out for 120 feet. They have a passive perception of 17, very nice.
Mm-hmm.
And they know any languages that they knew in life, of course. If you're an immortal being, you could potentially learn some more along the way, which I would imagine for great beings like
Nah, you know what? That's why they nerfed his intelligence in this. They just decided, like, you know what? You don't get to learn more languages in death. What you know is what you know, and you don't change that.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay.
Moving into its features, it is, of course, a shape changer. If the vampire is not in sunlight or running water, it can use its action to polymorph into either a tiny bat or a medium cloud of mist, or back into its true form. While in bat form, it cannot speak. Its walking speed is 5 feet, and it has a flying speed of 30 feet. Its statistics, other than size and speed, are unchanged. Anything it is wearing transforms with it, but nothing it is carrying does. It reverts back to its true form if it dies. While in the mist form, the vampire cannot take any actions, speak, or manipulate objects. It is weightless, has a flying speed of 20 feet, can hover, and can enter a hostile creature's space and stop there. In addition, if air can pass through a space, the mist can do so without squeezing, and it can't pass through water. It has advantage on strength, dexterity, and constitution saving throws, and it is immune to all non-magical damage except the damage it takes from sunlight.
Sizzle, sizzle. That's I don't know why I thought of that specifically.
I mean, yeah, it'll just the mist cloud will evaporate away until it's dead.
Steam.
Like sausages in a hot griddle.
Yep.
Yeah.
Vampires are sausages. That's the takeaway. What else, Jack?
It has legendary resistances, 3 of them a day.
Oh my god.
If it fails a saving throw, it can choose to succeed instead, which is pretty cool.
Okay.
Vampire also has the Misty Escape feature. When it drops to 0 hit points outside of its resting place, the vampire transforms into a cloud of mist instead of falling unconscious, provided it isn't in sunlight or running water. If it can't transform, it is destroyed. While it has 0 hit points in mist form, it cannot revert to its vampire form and must reach its resting place within 2 hours or be destroyed. Once in its resting place, it reverts back to its vampire form. It is then paralyzed until it regains at least 1 hit point, and after spending 1 hour in its resting place with 0 hit points, it regains 1.
So, gives you an opportunity, if you can find its resting spot, to, like, stake that motherfucker through the heart.
Oh, yeah, if you can get there and set up some traps, you're golden.
Yep.
Or, of course, if you manage to kill it while it's in running water or in sunlight,
Yeah.
it's dead,
Okay.
which is pretty sweet. If you get a daylight spell or something like that would work, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think. But is there more, Jack?
There is indeed. There's actually quite a lot more. It has regeneration,
Okay.
so it regains 20 hit points at the start of each of its turns if it has at least 1 hit point and isn't in sunlight or running water. If the vampire takes radiant damage or damage from holy water, this trait doesn't function at the start of the vampire's next turn.
Remember, guys, bring a priest. Always bring a priest.
Oh, bring a priest. I thought you said, always bring your peace. And I was like, bring a gun? Bring a gun to a vampire?
Yeah,
fight?
no, stay strapped.
Well, ideally, you would want to have some very good, powerful weapons.
All
of
you
course.
need is, like, a crossbow with, like, a couple of wooden bolts and just, like, you know.
You could go the Hugh Jackman Van Helsing route with the rotating crossbow.
That was weird.
Yeah.
That was a weird movie. I
I
liked
mean, it
it.
was still good.
I liked it. It was
Yeah.
like, it was
Vampires v. werewolves.
It was like Halloween porn, basically.
Yeah.
It was like, It wasn't pornographic. It was just like indulgent in like the spooky.
All things Halloween were in that movie.
Yeah,
it was a good one.
Like Frankenstein's monster was in that too, and I was like, "Whoa, what? Where is this coming from?"
It was good.
Yeah.
It was good.
Anyways,
Vampires can also spider climb, so they can climb difficult surfaces, including upside down on ceilings without needing to make an ability check, which is fucking terrifying. If I just walked into some big castle and there's just a dude walking along the ceiling upside down and says, "Oh, hello, good chap," I'm walking the fuck out, because that is...
honestly,
I don't like it.
Them being upside down, like standing on their 2 feet, is not as creepy as them being like on all fours, like.
Okay, if they're scampering like a bug or a spider and they're doing it,
it's
no.
just like nope.
So much no. Okay, but here's
actually
the
no.
question.
The second you see them doing that it's too late. You're dead.
It's the Dark Souls. You died. Here's the question: is it worse if they're like belly side towards the surface that they're walking on, or if they're like, like bent backwards and their back is facing the surface, so they're like
the second one you see. That's horrible.
Yeah,
that's terrifying.
It's worse if like the head does the whole like turn around to stare at you with the red eyes, and then it starts scampering towards you. I'm screaming, turning around, and fleeing for my life. I probably won't make it out.
Yeah, you probably won't.
But at least I won't have to look at it when I go.
Okay, yep.
God, that's nightmare fuel. I don't like it.
All right.
I don't like it.
Continue.
The vampire has the following flaws, which is kind of cool. We haven't really gotten to anything that has vulnerabilities. Now, this isn't a vulnerability per se, but this certainly makes using and playing vampires as villains rather interesting. First one here is forbiddance. The vampire cannot enter a residence without an invitation from one of the occupants. And here's the question. You have a welcome mat out front of your door. Is that then technically welcoming in a vampire into your home? Could he get in through that?
Yes, that's overriding it.
Okay.
If anybody disagrees with this,
I've seen some debate on this before.
No, if anybody disagrees with this, you're wrong. So,
so what is your take?
If you have a welcome mat that says welcome, you're screwed.
Okay.
If you have a welcome mat that says something else other than welcome, rather than like, like there are welcome mats that have all those like silly phrases on there or something.
Yeah.
Like that. There's some welcome mats that just say fuck off. It's just
yes,
like,
that's the mat that I think you would be best on.
Yeah, no, that's your ultimate protection. Against
mat.
Fuck off mat. It's just
like that.
It's like even if I welcome you into your home, the vampires like vampire knocks on your door. You welcome and you're just like, oh, come in, and then he's just like, shit. He's like,
I feel like so long as you get at least the verbal invitation in, then you're fine. Nah. But if you're trying to get in and all it says is fuck off, you're fucked.
The mat rule.
I don't think
overrides everything.
I don't think it overrides for. I will deny that. I deny you that.
It's going to continue to exist in my games. It's fine.
All right. A vampire can also be harmed by running water, as we have hinted at with our previous descriptions here. The vampire takes 20 acid damage if it ends its turn in running water. I think it's interesting that it's acid. I like that.
Can't wash his hands.
Yeah, no.
Can't. He's always got dirty hands. He can't wash them.
Well, okay. Well, here's the thing: is it standing in the sink?
Okay, if it's like a bowl of standing water, then it's fine. But if the faucet is running, it'd just be like, ah!
I feel like that would be fine. I feel like if it's like if it's trying to wash up in like a stream, no.
Yeah.
Stake to the heart. If a piercing weapon made of wood is driven into the vampire's heart while a vampire is incapacitated in its resting place, the vampire is paralyzed until the stake is removed. It's interesting that it's not killed, though. Like some of the old stories,
Yeah.
I like that it's just like, oh, you're just stuck. Could you imagine?
I think that's like the definition they give in the Dracula films.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, okay. It's just like it paralyzed. I mean, they do that with like a couple of his spawn, and like it officially like paralyzes them, but then and basically gives them the freedom to like go hunt Dracula himself to take him out. But yeah, whenever you stake a vampire, you have to sing "Shot Through the Heart" and you're to blame.
Oh goodness!
Yeah,
that would be one great but also terrible way to just fuck with a vampire.
Yeah,
I'm gonna stake you. I'm going to put you in a box, and then I'm going to nail it shut, and you can't get out.
Yep.
You're stuck like this for however long. That's like getting buried alive.
Well, yeah.
I know. It's just, oh, goodness. No, thank you.
Yep. Any other flaws, Jack?
Sunlight hypersensitivity is the last one. It takes 20 radiant damage when a vampire starts its turn in sunlight, and while in sunlight, it has disadvantage on attack rolls and ability checks.
Like we said earlier, they don't tan well.
No, they do not.
Yep.
But that's all of its traits. There is quite a long list of actions.
However, a vampire could... Do you think a vampire would get hurt from a tanning bed? Like, could a vampire trick you into thinking they're not a vampire by going to a tanning salon?
Now, here is my... Well, I mean, you could... Why do that if you can just get spray on tan?
You could get spray on tans, right?
Spray on.
But then it would come off. Well, actually, no, you couldn't, because you would have to wash it off. And if you're using running water, that's double proof.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you're standing in the rushing water, then you're screwed.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you get spray on, I mean, it's oh goodness, is Blade the movie where the vampire like puts on the makeup to go out in daylight?
I don't remember Blade. Honestly, I can't remember.
No,
I can't.
I want to
can't
say
remember.
there's a character in Blade that does that.
Vampires break this rule all the time, though.
Yeah,
I broke this sunlight sensitivity rule like a lot because I was just like, vampires go out in the middle of the fucking day all the time, and they break that rule in Dracula. They totally break it. Yeah. In like most Dracula renditions, they're like, he just goes around town.
Yeah.
In the sunlight.
Sometimes it's a hand wave. Sometimes they give a meager reason.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. Whenever they find a way to work around it. In terms of what a vampire can do.
Yes.
It's multi-attack.
Multi-attack?
Mm-hmm. It says only one of which can be a bite attack.
Okay.
So, quite nice that they make that specification versus it has to be this, this, and this.
Yeah.
I like that. First attack is an unarmed strike while it's in its vampire form only. It's a +9 to hit, a reach of 5 feet against one creature. It does 1d8 bludgeoning damage. Instead of dealing damage, the vampire can instead grapple the target with an escape DC of 18.
Okay.
That grappling will come into play here with its bite attack, which it can do in either its bat or vampire form. Again, +9 to fit, +9 to hit. Excuse me, with a reach of 5 feet against one willing creature or a creature that is grappled.
Keep going, man.
Grappled by the vampire, incapacitated or restrained. It does 1d6 plus 4 piercing plus 3d6 necrotic damage. The target's hit point max is reduced by an equal amount to the necrotic damage taken, and the vampire gains hit points equal to that amount. Which is quite nice. A little bit of regen in there.
Yep.
The reduction lasts until the target finishes a long rest. The target dies if this effect reduces its hit points to 0. A humanoid slain in this way and then buried in the ground rises the following night as a vampire spawn under the vampire's control.
Ooh.
Spooky. You get to raise yourself a little army of thralls.
Imagine if that was like a thing that... Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if like people do this in Strahd games or anything like that, but it's like having a player character become a vampire spawn for the vampire. And just imagine how messed up that is.
We have a group of friends that's done Strahd. I wonder if they did something like that.
Who knows? We have to ask them.
Potentially.
Ask them, see what they did. We haven't run Strahd. We don't really know what the hype is about Strahd.
Yeah, I have never played, nor have I run. So.
Yeah, but maybe at some point we'll get to experience Strahd as most D&D players.
I do have that fancy box at some point. We got to do it.
Yeah.
We'll find a way.
Is there anything else that I should know about a vampire?
Yes, it has the charm ability, so it can target one humanoid it can see within 30 feet. If the target can see the vampire, it must succeed on a DC 17 Wisdom saving throw against this magic or be charmed by the vampire. The charmed target...
Charming bastards.
Yeah, they can be indeed.
Yeah.
The charmed target regards the vampire as a trusted friend to be heeded and protected. Although the target isn't under the vampire's control, it takes the vampire's requests or actions in the most favorable way it can and is a willing target for the vampire's bite attack. So get that regen on it, which is pretty cool. Each time the vampire or the vampire's companions do anything harmful to the target, it can repeat the saving throw ending the effect on a successful success. Successful success. That's double success.
Successful
Wow.
save.
Yeah,
No,
successful
we know
save.
what you meant.
Thank you. Otherwise, the target, the effect lasts 24 hours or until the vampire is destroyed on a different plane or takes a bonus action to end the effect. So, you get a thrall for as long as the target remains unharmed. Pretty cool. Up to a day. The final ability of the vampire is Children of the Night. You get this once per day. The vampire calls 2d4 swarms of bats or rats, provided that the sun isn't up. While outdoors, the vampire can call 3d6 wolves instead. That's pretty fucking dope. The called creatures arrive in 1d4 rounds, acting as allies of the vampire and obeying spoken commands. The beasts remain for 1 hour until the vampire dies, or until the vampire dismisses them as a bonus action. I love that.
Yeah.
I always
You know
love a
what?
villain that can summon things.
Yeah, on a different note, have you seen the Underworld franchise?
I have seen bits and pieces. I have not seen it in any of its entirety.
But the basic premise is like the history is like it again. It's total like self-serving like action sort of movie, but basically there's this long history, this secret war between vampires and werewolves. And the werewolves have kind of just been seeking freedom for a long time because in their history, the vampires were masters to the werewolves. Like they enslaved the werewolves and all that. So like imagine like having like a D&D campaign where it's kind of like that, where it's like there's a vampire lord and they have like their werewolf minions or something like that. Pretty creepy. Which I kind of did. In my campaign, because we'll get into that in a second about whether or not we ran this. Is that all on the stat block, or do they have anything else?
We have its legendary actions. It has 3. Of course, legendary actions. Do you want to talk about how legendary actions work?
Yeah, legendary actions. Usually, monsters that are of the legendary status get 3 legendary actions per round of combat. So every 6 seconds. And they can use those legendary actions at the end of another creature's turn. Not like a reaction, kind of like a reaction, but like they do it at the end of any creature's turn that is not their own. Or I think they can do it on the end of their own turn. I'm not sure.
End of another creature's
Enter
turn.
another creature's turn.
Yes.
And usually there's like an action point cost for each one, because some of them will be like, oh, this only costs 1 legendary action, or some will be like big hitters and it'll be like, this will cost all 3 legendary actions. Stuff like that. So usually the big hitter ones are juicy. Juicy effects that cost 3 actions.
Well, for the vampire, there's only 3.
Okay.
First one is move, 1 action. Very simple. It moves up to its movement speed without provoking opportunity attacks, which is quite nice. Get to slip through people.
This is that like classic Castlevania, like Alucard moving like like super fast, you can barely see him sort of thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Second one, also 1 action, is unarmed strike. Makes 1 unarmed strike, pretty simple.
Shit, they got unarmed strikes like monks.
Yeah.
Remember, bring a priest, and if that priest can punch, make them get into a fist fight with Dracula.
Get him some knuckle dusters, one that says thoughts, one that says prayers.
Yeah.
It'll be fun. Final legendary action for the vampire is the bite, which costs 2, as you mentioned earlier. Simply makes 1 bite attack, and that is that.
Yeah.
That's it for the vampire.
Right.
So, do you like the stat block? Do you like its flavor? Have you used it? Would you change it?
I would never in my life ever use a vampire, Jack.
Oh my goodness.
No, I'm kidding. I made one of my campaign villains a very prominent vampire.
That you did.
And I disobeyed a lot of the rules in that stat block. I kind of messed with some of the flaws. Like I let him roam around in sunlight and all that, and then I'm like cross running water and all that.
I mean,
but it was just because he was a very powerful magic user to begin with, And he evaded you guys for as long as I could make him because I wanted his end to be meaningful. And you eventually killed him. You did it. You guys did it recently, actually. But
We spent an out-of-game year hunting him.
yes, it was a long burn for this guy.
Oh, yes.
Um,
He got the death he deserved.
but and what was funny is like, you know, he was kind of using the underworld style thing because
Yeah.
he had an army of werewolves on
Yeah.
his side. He also had an army of revenants, resurrected people that he forced into his servitude.
Yeah, still got a couple of those.
Yeah, some of those are all over the place. You don't know where you're gonna find them, but
One day.
Yeah.
One day.
I like vampires. I
Okay.
think they're cool.
Mm-hmm.
Similar thing to like the werewolf.
Mm-hmm.
Werewolves and vampires, I kind of like the whole idea of like they don't have to be evil. It's fun. It's fun when they are.
Yeah.
But like vampires can be kind of tragic characters. Like I mean, Strahd is like a classic tragic villain or something like that. He's a bad dude.
Yeah.
But he's
Very much.
ultimately a little tragic. I think vampires can be very tragic characters. It's like, you know, they were cursed with this or something like that. In my case, my vampire villain was not tragic. He was just a little bit of a crybaby.
Oh shit.
He came from a lineage of very important vampires, and that lineage just slowly died out. And basically, his birthright was stolen from him by a human wizard. And he wanted that birthright back so bad that he ended up in servitude to that human wizard until he tried to subvert him, and that didn't work out. But, you know, he just...
You know, to each your own.
Yeah. But you can make really tragic characters or really compelling, like, internal conflict characters out of werewolves and vampires. It's like, you know, them fighting this ultimately kind of inner beast or
Yeah.
something like that to get it. Yeah.
Different kind of inner beast for each of them, but an inner beast nonetheless. You have the bloodlust of the vampire and the literal wolf of the werewolf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Base instinct of the werewolf.
Yes.
Again, we're talking about some alternatives. Van Richten's actually has a lot of stuff about vampires because what is Van Richten's without some vampires? What is Ravenloft without vampires? So, obviously there's a player option in Van Richten's where you can be a Dhampir. That's an actual just player race you can be for a vampire if you wanted to, and if your DM allows it. And it doesn't have to be specifically, you know, like in Ravenloft, obviously.
Yeah, whatever your setting
And
is.
then
of
one of
course you can-
the alternate. There's actually two alternatives to the vampire here that you could run. The first one, I'm not even sure if I'm going to pronounce this right, but it's the Jingxi. I think that's how you pronounce it. I don't know. It's this thing. It's called a hopping vampire. I'll have a little more
I'm
lore
not
on it
sure.
later, but it's an interesting take on like this vengeful dead creature. It's a little more creepy, and like a little more plays into like the risen dead sort of thing. And then there is, of course, the classic Nosferatu, and what they went with in Van Richten's was like, hey, imagine a vampire, but make it feral. Which I actually did use in Nosferatu in
Nice.
in my own game. He was actually a cousin to the evil vampire.
Oh, gosh, what's his? It's not Icos. It's what did you call him?
His name was Zagath.
Zagath.
He kind of spoke in the third person because he was like living in the walls and gone insane.
Yeah.
But he was a bit of a tragic guy. His cousin Amos, who was the actual vampire villain, was like, you know, bad dude to the max.
Yes.
But yeah. Well, I mean, so those are some good options for vampires from Van Richten's, you know,
Yeah.
that we could review. But
I really like the vampire stat block. I don't think it needs anything that needs changing or boosting. I like where it is.
I mean, if you want to give it like, it depends on the flavor of vampire you're running to, because like you could have campaign where you want your vampire villain, if you're including one, to be like a warrior, and you could give him like a long sword and a sword and shield, make him more of like a knight or something like that, and then change around some of those stats to like befit that. Or you could make one that's more of like a spellcaster, which is kind of what I did with Amos, is I just added a bunch of spells on there. And just made a spellcaster and improved some of the mental fortitude stats.
I have never used a vampire. Would I in the future? I could see myself doing that.
Yeah.
There's a possibility. I'm not too crazy big on vampires. I have used so many ghosts and wraiths and specters over the course of this last campaign, which has been going on.
You want just another flavor of undead,
I know,
or another flavor of enemy in general.
I need something else than a skeleton or a ghost or a wraith or a zombie.
Oh, we didn't cover skeletons or zombies in this thing, but you know,
we've been talking long enough. You're probably sick of my voice. Austin's probably sick of my voice.
Actually, this has been mostly you're talking today.
I know.
I think that's why we chose tea.
Yeah.
It's to soothe the throat while you spoke.
Oh gosh, yes. My sweet, soothing, sultry voice as I read you stat blocks. It's not too bad from us.
I definitely like vampires. I like werewolves.
Yeah.
I like ghosts.
Spooky boys.
And I like hags. I like them all. I like them all. That's the whole point of this episode. We're talking about monsters that we like.
Yeah.
And that fit within the realm of Halloween currently.
Yeah.
You know what? Let us know in the comments if you would run any of these, if you've run any of them, and
tell us if you've died to any of them.
Yeah.
That's what I want to know.
Yeah. Tell us about your ghost possession story.
Oh,
in game and in real life.
Well, maybe not in real life.
That'd probably be bad. Tell us about your vampire encounter, or whether or not your character became a werewolf or something like that, or
Did you want to be a werewolf? Is that something that you're cool with? Did you want to immediately break the curse? Let us know. I'm very curious as to what a bunch of you think.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd want to.
Because we're two dudes that think you care about our opinion, but we care about your opinion. So yeah,
it's all one big happy family.
Yeah. That's it. That's the thing. Is the D&D community is we're one D&D, which is an allusion to the one D&D thing that is currently happening.
We'll have to talk about that in its own separate episode one of these days.
One of these days, we're going to talk about all that reformatting. Because I think their plan is literally it's going to be like once they come out with the new player handbook, it's going to be like 2024, and it's going to be officially like a decade since they.
Yeah.
Re-upped it.
Time flies.
Yeah. Because 5th edition apparently started in 2014. I wasn't on the D&D bandwagon by then, but
I think I was still running Pathfinder or GURPS.
Yeah.
What a weird system. GURPS.
Some weird shit. Yeah.
Oh boy.
But yeah. Jack, I don't have my computer in front of me, so what are some things that people can expect for next episode?
Well, for next episode, for those of you that stick around with us another week and come on by and give us a listen, there's a high probability we may be getting into some interesting material about some feline friends of ours, the Rakshasa.
Oh, more fiends. Yay!
Yes.
I guess we just are doing fiends for the entire.
I mean, we did some undead this episode.
We
did some shapeshifters. We didn't all do fiends. We did a lot of them.
Yeah.
But after the Rakshasa, we got some other things down the line that I'm really excited for the one after the Rakshasa, which is a surprise until next week.
Yeah, you're not allowed to know that.
We got some fun stuff in the pipeline. Hopefully you enjoy. Please let us know your thoughts if you enjoy the format. If you have any comments, questions, concerns.
And again, we'll be back to the regular format we were doing next episode, because this was a special episode where we just wanted to ramble on about our favorite horror and gothic horror monsters and all that. So.
We love a Halloween autumn themed episode.
All right. Well, I think that's all I have.
I think we're good. I've been talking a long time today.
Yeah, you should shut up now.
All right, fine.
Okay. Happy Halloween, guys. Stay safe. See ya when you see ya.
Stay caffeinated.